Hello, my name's Ted Lederer, and you're watching another episode of It's All About Art. And today, we're at the Limatassi Skate Park in Vancouver. And I'm speaking to Ezer One. Ezer, good to see you. This is very different from what we usually do. Tell us a little bit about where we are.
Well, we're at Leaside. That's the name of the wall here. It's a tunnel devoted to skateboarders and graffiti artists. It's basically a memorial spot for Lee Matassi, who was murdered a number of years ago. The city was about to take the whole wall away from us, and they left it as a memorial. And so now, as you can see to this day, we are allowed to paint here legally, and skateboarders are allowed to come and hang out.
And today, you are going to do a piece on the wall.
Yep, that's right. Basically, I've primed this spot. This is the first layer of paint of roller buff, and it's going to work as a background for the title piece for the show. The letters will go over top.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know that in your community, from the conversations that we've been having, there's a fairly well-defined sense of protocol. Now, there was something there, and you've gone over it. So how does that protocol work?
Well, there's basically a thing called global rules, which is in the world of graffiti. There's rules, basically a tag, which is a scribble tag, like some sort of little hand style. That's the lowest form. So if you do a throw up, or as soon as you do a bubble letter, or you outline it and you fill it in, that you can legitimately go over somebody's tag with that. And to go over throw, you have to do a piece. So you're using multiple colors, that's a piece. And to go over that, you need to do a background and do a whole production.
How about in terms of who does the tagging? Because you have explain to me, is there a hierarchy in terms of if you're a well-known tagger or a lesser-known tagger? How does that work?
Well, if you're younger and you haven't been writing very long, you really haven't paid it very much dues, you really don't have very much right to be going over somebody who's paid 10 years of dues and been writing for that long.
Well, no, it's a fairly close-knit community, is it not?
Yep.
Is it mostly guys?
It is mostly guys. There are some girls. For example, Sorrow here. This is a female writer.
Right.
She's one of my friends.
But they're in the minority, is that right?
They're definitely in the minority.
Now let me ask you the obvious question, because our viewers are going to be watching this. They're going to say he's wearing a mask and glasses to hide his identity. So why? If this is legal, why do that?
Well, because this wall in particular is legal, but not necessarily everything that we do is legal. So.
Okay, fair enough. And so tell us a little bit about, because you're curating this show.
Yes.
And the whole show, it really brings into the idea of, so what is fine art? I mean, on the one hand, it's acknowledged that a painter like Bruce Pasek does fine art, and then he incorporates street art into it. So this show that you and I are doing together, that you're curating, it really, the whole idea is then you're bringing street art into a fine art setting.
Yeah.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about who the 7 artists are, including yourself, and what their kind of specialties? Because people have specialties, correct?
Oh yeah, most certainly. Well, for example, we have Scott Sumi, who's basically a graphic designer. He has a formal education, so forth. He mostly does. He's very legitimate about his styles, and he's very well accomplished in what he does.
Wait a second. When you say legitimate about his styles, what do you mean by that?
Well, he's like legitimate as in he doesn't really do very much illegal graffiti. He used to, but he doesn't anymore.
Right. Okay.
And so he's paid his dues, I guess you could
Right.
say. And then we have artists like Assess and Demos who have traveled across Asia and done all kinds of amazing, extremely hard to reach places, heavens we call them. They've bombed Asia, they've traveled around the world and so on. And they also have very tight styles, but they're not 100% legitimate. And then we have artists like Differ, for example, who he tries to more or less steer clear of any legitimacy, more or less, and just go straight for the grimier the better. The element of vandalism is much more apparent in his works with splatters and drips. Waze, who lives up in the interior of BC, he was in a car accident a number of years ago, and he's in a wheelchair. He's classified as a quadriplegic, and he's left with few more challenges with his art,
right.
Obviously. and his art's a lot more fun. Like he has a lot more fun with his art. And again, he's not up on the rooftops doing illegal stuff, so he's a little bit more legitimate about it. But it's still something that he enjoys to do, and he's
Yes.
actually really good at.
Yes.
And the other artist would be Enzo, and he is one of Vancouver's better artists. Like, I mean, as far as clean cuts and wild styles, a lot of his new work is getting into experimental shapes and colors and like abstract, going in a different direction. But
I guess the other thing too is that people tend to think of graffiti as text-based, but it's more than just text, isn't it? Can you talk to me a little bit about the drawing aspect in your work? Because the show is in July, very specifically because the drawing festival is here in town in July, so it's intentional to kind of make that jump to think that these are people that are practicing drawing in a sense.
I mean, if you want to think of it like drawing with a spray can as opposed to drawing with a pen or a pencil, you know what I mean, or a paintbrush, it's just a different medium.
And there's a ton of technique to what you do, isn't there?
Well, exactly. I mean, there's every application, every artist has their favorite tools to use, and there's all kinds of different ways
Sure.
for your application. I mean, the way I approach a wall is different from the way somebody else might approach a wall, but generally speaking, yeah, there's all kinds of different things that you can get to make your lines super skinny, to make them really fat, you can use all kinds of different tools to get different effects.
Okay. Now we're here today at the Lee Metasi Park, and you're gonna do something on the wall. Do you come with a preconception in your mind? Have you sketched it out?
Usually if I'm coming to do a nice, like a full color mural or full color panel wall, I will draw like a little sketch. The sketch is basically just an idea of where I want to go with it. Once I get to the wall, it's more comes down to color theory and what you actually want to paint. So I basically use like a sketch as just an idea.
Okay, so you
to
mentioned
look back
color
on.
theory. A lot of these artists, they've actually got formal training, don't they? They've gone to art school. I mean, this just blew my mind when I heard this.
Well, I mean, you were surprised, I guess, by that. Most of the artists in this show have actually had formal training in one way or another. Many of them have had their own art shows, anywhere from London to Japan to Toronto to, Montreal.
The exhibition that's happening at the gallery, what's the theory behind it? How's it going to work?
Well, the title of the show is Letters, a 7-letter word for 7 artists involved. The structure of what we work with, generally speaking, it comes from letter forms and different ways that letters can be put together to make different sort of shapes and all kinds of different things. So we thought it would be a fitting name for the show.
You have curated a bunch of very talented artists. Is there anything else you want myself or the viewers to know about this exhibition?
Just that there's 7 of the best upcoming Vancouver artists that you can find in the city, and just doing it big as we usually do.
Good man.
Thank
Thank you.
Ted.
My name is Ted Lederer. You've been watching another episode of It's All About Art. We've been in conversation with Ezer One, graffiti artist, regarding our upcoming exhibition in July. And thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Bye for now.